Okay.
Finally, you can breathe.
Can I hear from the online attendees if you can see the presentations now? Can you see it?
No, because it's
Not yet.
not yet.
Not yet. I need to share it. Okay, but it's just.
No, it's okay.
Okay, share screen. Okay. I need the manpower for this. I admit. So, it's not only women; it's also age.
Yeah,
I can manage Uber with my phone. That's about it, and I can manage Wales. And,
Yeah, you're here.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah,
It's okay. It's okay. Now you can see probably the online auditorium. Can you see this? Can someone say yes?
I cannot. I cannot. I only see you guys, like all the participants.
Mark, can you check if everything is fine? Here we have the new structure, and we have to vote also for the members of the pillars. So we are not done yet with the new core group. Actually, everybody was invited to join us. You can still join us. I mean, there is plenty of room for everybody.
Now we can see. Natasha, now we can see everything.
Great. Actually, I would like you to confirm the new core group. As for the rules of the PReS, online voting was not needed. It was not even needed for the chair and the secretary, but I thought it's the most correct way to do it, to have the online voting. But for the pillars, actually, we received the application from Amra Adrovic from Turkey. Amra, are you here? So, and for the clinical care, I asked Thomas Dalus to join us because Thomas, please stand up. I mean, Thomas, he's so great. He's doing such a big job. Also with the question writing. No, Thomas, you deserve this. You deserve this. I think you agree safely. And I mean, but Thomas is always, it's quiet, and you need to be heard. So, Thomas, it's great that you joined us, that you joined this initiative.
Very international.
Yes. Yes, I mean, it's great to have you. And then Mariana Rodriguez, actually, this is my fault that she did not appear on this before, because we were connected in this idea that she would also join the core group. But then I missed her application, I missed her CV, I missed her letter of intent, and this was my fault. So with agreement of the new chair and the new secretary, and also old secretary and old chair, actually Mariana was also added to the clinical pillar. And for education and training, I would love to have someone with me, but this is my love, education, training, and young persons. This is really what I have here. So for this pillar, I would be happy that you will have me for the next 4 years.
We need to vote.
Yeah, we need to vote. That you will have me. You will, if you will. And for the ENCA representative, Saskia stepped down. So we have now Nathalie Billard from France. Nathalie, are you here with us online? I guess she's not in the room, but perhaps online. But I haven't seen her going through the attendees online.
Is she from Korea? Is she from the French?
From the French, yes. She's from the French patient group, yes.
From Korea.
Yes, and before this was Saskia from the Netherlands, but she stepped down. And we have a new young investigator representative, Amit Ziu. If they will confirm you, please stand up.
Not that young.
Yes, actually, for the ones that don't know, she got the YIM Award Prize last year for the great study about the effectiveness of the COVID vaccination. Now I would like to ask you, if you are pro these pillars and the names here, please raise your hands. We need to vote. If someone is against, please speak now. It's a democratic procedure. Okay, so I would like to applaud the new chair secretary and the Okay. We'll continue now. Just to remind you, when everything started, it started with me and Sefi discussing that actually we miss the evidence-based data. This started in Athens 2017, and then, I don't know, perhaps Sefi said, why don't we have a vaccination working party? And I was somehow connected with PReS at the time because the day was already, my boss was already coming closer to the council. So actually I asked how to deal with this, and we became Vaccination Working Party in 2018. Actually, the mandates are, I think they are for 3 years, but there was a discussion that it should be for 4 years, but anyhow, we didn't change the core group because of COVID also, and because of all the procedures, and also other working parties were having the same problem. But at this time, I think we did the right thing. We had online voting, and we had these new members of the working party. The first task that we faced was to create a platform. I mean, vaccination schedules in different countries are different. Then the methods for antibody determinations are different. So first task was to find people who would have interest and to find fields in which we can collaborate. And it was, yes.
Very short notice is that in the, when you say multi-center, multinational, international study, you also say IRB and IRB.
Yeah.
And that's, I think that is a very important point to address for the new team.
Thank you.
That there are so many differences in ethical consent.
Perhaps we can discuss this in the MMR study, because we had many problems with the MMR study.
Well, that is for instance, why we cannot participate in a project.
But you're already doing this, I mean, but the IRB would be, I know that, and thank you. This is one note to make for the secretary. And
all the regulations are getting more and more complicated.
Yes,
if you have
true.
aim for multi-center study, you must have also an idea.
Thank you. Since then, since 2018, we have come really a long way, and now I would like to ask Sefi to give us his talk on the updates. Okay, I'll close this one. Okay, Sefi, can you come? I'll open your presentation. Okay. Is this seen by the online? Meryl, can you see this?
Yes, we can see everything. Thank
Please,
you.
Sefi, the floor is yours.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. First of all, it's wonderful to see that we are full room and also people in the remote. What Natasha didn't tell you that in 2017 in Athens, we had a talk that probably looks like it's going to be a pandemic that will come very soon. So this is why we need to have a vaccination party.
This is true. I mean, we were kind of...
Okay. It's good opportunity though, because we keep doing all times things, and one at a time we stop and say what have we done, and sometimes see that we've done a lot. So it's good things for everyone to step aside for one moment and to look what have you achieved last year, previous year. Usually we see that we achieved quite a lot, but because we keep doing it, we were not impressed by it. So Natasha has spent some months with us in a short sabbatical of her. At that time also she did a note we did together in vaccination. So this was a review about vaccination on children on biologics. So what happened with vaccination? Are they allowed to get vaccine or not? So this was one of the first studies. So the first study that we did was about a retrospective data analysis. If we are allowed to vaccinate people, our patients, who are on methotrexate or biologic. You know, all the time we have to ask question, why? This is what Angelo said also, Angelo Rovelli, to the young investigator. Keep asking why. Don't accept everything as routine. So all the time, everyone is telling us our patients are not allowed to get live vaccine. We say, why? Why not? We don't see the severe infection of them. So in the health policy of our Ministry of Health, live vaccine are not allowed. But sometimes some people are brave enough, Natasha, Nico, some other people, so let's give. So in this way, we were able to collect retrospective data, which is the first step in order to do the prospective data. So this was our first study. We collected all the retrospective data. And this was our paper in vaccine. And again, this was international. So cooperation of 10 countries, 13 centers. So Veronica presented this in Madrid. So this was the base for continue the other studies. So what were the other studies? With the corona, there was some studies about vaccination, about our patients with COVID. So this was a study that led by Merav and Natasha and our group about the safety of the vaccine in our patients. There was another study as well, and the third study is ordered in order to just submit it for the young patients. So this was for the older one, 12 and above. Now there is a study about the younger patient, 12 and above. This was not part of our working party, but from all the talks about the vaccination of patient, we had an opportunity to study a big data. So the data of our health insurance that have data on 5 million people. So we were able to take all the pediatric patients with GIA, with FMF, with lupus, who got the vaccine, and to see what's the real efficacy of the vaccine. This is something we are unable to do in an MMR vaccine because there's no disease like this. We can only check the immunogenicity, but not the efficacy. So this was the study that was led by Amit, and she won the prize for it last year. And then we have the recommendation part also that was led by Mark. So EULA PReS recommendation on vaccination of our patients. So this is two studies, two recommendation papers. We had an opportunity, we were asked to do a section in Frontier in Pediatrics, section in Pediatric Rheumatology on vaccination. So we were asked to be guest editors. So it was Nico, Natasha, and myself. We got there were 43 contributors. We got 10 manuscripts, and out of them 6 were published. It was a long way. It took about a year to get the papers, to evaluate them, and so on. But this is also another achievement of our group to have a full section on pediatric vaccination. So this is what we got from the editor. Congratulations on the publication on open access. There was an editorial about all the papers, and I will show all the studies, which is also international, coming from many countries. So this was the study from United States, from Slovakia, Slovenia.
No, this is a joint study from the working group.
Joint study about Slovakia, the approaches. It was a survey between many centers. The approach, what do they think about the...
The last one was collaboration with the Systemic Council of an Robotic Party, which was perfect. Because...
Okay. What else? What's the real life about compliance of vaccination in Switzerland? Safety in Poland. Another systematic review about vaccination. Those are the two, also international cooperation led by the working party of the vaccination, the approach, and what's the real life about the flu vaccine. So this was before the COVID area and after the COVID and you see if there are differences. So those 2 papers are ready to be submitted, and Merav is going to submit it. One more thing, like Natasha said before, we are a team. No one is working by himself. If you want to succeed, you have to work in a team. And also, we work in the Corona era, which was not an easy task, to do a lot of Zoom meetings and to do different things. So in order to do it, all of us, all the people in the room, have some burning heart and burning brain, ambition, but still, if we want to succeed, we need someone to lead us. We need a leader to lead the team. So this is the leader. So special thanks to her. A burning brain, but not just the burning brain. The burning brain has to be in both sides. Study, working, and also some fun. So this is also, we just had the talk with Nico. If we really need face-to-face meeting, or should we continue to do a lot of Zoom meetings? So the part of this, the right part, is the face-to-face meeting. The social interaction, this is the best part. One more thing that I didn't put in the presentation is what we did, and Thomas did a lot of it, was building a bank of questions for the first exam of the PReS exam. So each working party had to do about 100 questions, which was quite a lot. So I think we did about 60, which is it's a lot of effort. 70, even more. It's a lot of effort, and we'll see today if they will be able to solve our questions or not. So a team. Big thanks to Natasha. This is the teams we have to work together, everyone for everyone. And this is the teamwork. This is my orchestra. It's a team, and the team is led by the conductor. So any one of you, the young investigator, Amit is the young investigator. You start young and go on and continue to grow. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you, Thank you, Sefi, for all the work that we did together. I could not manage it without you. So
It's a team, that's what I say.
it's a team, and we need to continue this way, right? Now I would like to ask Barbora from Slovakia to present our joint study. Masha is also with us online, right, Masha? Say hello to everybody, that everybody will hear you.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, nice to have you here. Actually, this is the multicentric study, and this time Barbora will present this, and I'm very happy to have you here. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
Can you see the presentation?
Not yet.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna have to. He's a secretary now, right? I can sit down. Okay. Now it's fine.
Thank you. So, hello, everybody. I'm going to present you just the preliminary data about the still ongoing study. And unfortunately, as Masha could not be here, I'm going to present this data as she was supposed to present it. Okay, so this is still prospective and ongoing study with the aim to prospectively evaluate the safety and long-term immunogenicity of the second dose of MMR or MMR varicella vaccine in children with immune-mediated diseases treated with immunosuppressive therapy, including biologics. I'll shortly skip the inclusion and exclusion criteria to have more time for discussing the results. But from the methodology, we closely monitor adverse events, infection with vaccine strain viruses, and this is activity before and after vaccination to look to evaluate the safety. And as for immunogenicity, we evaluate protective antibodies against measles and mumps before vaccination, and then the specific time points after vaccination, up to 5 years every year. And we also have the control group with patients without therapy. So what are the results? For now, the study is ongoing for more than three years, as the first patient was included in July 2020. 6 centers are recruiting patients, and 1 more obtained ethical approval. And for now, we've included 49 patients who received the 2nd dose of MMR vaccine, and you can see the specific numbers from each country. So from these patients, they were mainly vaccinated around the 10 year of age, but you can see really big age variability. This is because the differences in national immunization programs, but also some patients got the vaccination as a catch-up. Majority of patients were treated for juvenile idiopathic arthritis, all types of this, but also 1 patient we have with CAPS or juvenile dermatomyositis, lupus, uveitis, and also localized scleroderma. Altogether, 32 patients were treated with biologics during the vaccination was done, mainly with TNF inhibitors, but also a few with anti-IL-1 therapy and 1 with IL-6 therapy, with anti-IL-6 therapy. We have 1 patient on JAK inhibitor, and several patients were treated with methotrexate, but also 1 with mycophenolate, and 4 had concomitant low dose on therapy with glucocorticosteroids. What is new from the last year? We have 3 patients who received the 1st dose of MMR vaccine, and this from this patient, 1 was treated with TNF alpha inhibitor, then with anti-IL-1 inhibitor, and 1 with methotrexate in combination with corticosteroids. Coming to results, so from looking to the safety part, we had no vaccine strain infection, no patient got severe adverse event, or we observed no flares after vaccination, and this is true for the 2nd dose, but also for the 1st dose of MMR. And in 34% of patients, we observed mild local or systemic reactions. This part about immunogenicity was more difficult to interpret. We had the results only from Slovakia and Slovenia, and we also had to select only 19 results for measles and 16 for mumps, because some results were missing, or also we were not able to compare them as the methodology, as the laboratory methodologies change in both countries. But just comparing the results before vaccination and 3 months after vaccination, you can see that children respond better in terms of mumps. So as 94% of patients become positive after vaccination, and there was only slight rise in antibody response for measles. And also you can see that there were more non-responders for measles than it was for mumps, and also the titers were higher for mumps than for measles. And these are really only few data from 10 patients which we had for longer follow-up, like for 1 year and for 2 years. So you can definitely see some outliers. To be honest, we don't have really good explanation for this, but you can see that the antibody response declines over time, and then this is a little bit more pronounced for measles than for mumps. So what are our challenges? This is still ongoing project, so everybody is welcomed to join. The aim is to include at least 100 per patient. Centers also can participate only in the safety part. We need to further investigate the safety and immunogenicity of the first dose of MMR vaccines. And we have more suggestions. First, it will be well to reevaluate these samples in one center. It would be very perfect to include more patients without treatment, not only with rheumatic diseases, but also healthy age-matched children, to really see if the declination is quicker and in patients treated with immunosuppressive therapy. And thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Can you go to back to the slides? This slide. Yes. Do we have the data about the therapy in these children? For example, the one who was like having protection at 0, and then at 3 months, you see that brown. This one. This one. This is strange, you know. This is strange.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the therapy in this child? Do we have this data already?
Yes, of course.
What was the therapy?
I don't remember which one that is.
Masha, do you know? Masha, perhaps you know, because this is really strange. I mean, and the ones
There are
that,
some strange values.
yeah.
There are some really strange values.
We'll have to-
Because we both know that both our training centers
Yes.
have to change the methodology. That's one thing. And the other thing, some results are really strange. So I think it would be very important to store these samples and redo this
Yeah.
lab.
Yeah.
Testing again somewhere
Mm.
in one center with one method. Because,
And
this is not many patients, but it clearly shows that we have a methodology.
problem is,
We actually will show you in a minute our long-term data.
okay.
Because I would really advise you to keep following these patients, because you will see the problem after 5 years.
okay.
It can show you, but we did everything. All the stored samples we really
did.
analyzed for this reason, because you're right, the different analyses are not always comparable.
I mean, the ones that didn't respond, if there will be no measles, it will be the same after 5 years, I guess. Masha, did you want to say something?
Yes, hi everyone. I'm sorry I can't be there. First of all, I would like to thank everyone who is already enrolling the patients. This is such important work, and I think great results, because actually in the first 50 patients, the vaccination was safe. So no increase in disease activity, and more importantly, no vaccine strain infection. So I think this is really good, and we have to continue this way. And regarding the geneticities, we have to redo the samples, of course. The 2 patients who did not respond and were seronegative, they were both on methotrexate, which is interesting. And I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the discussion for the next part.
Okay.
Didn't quite understand.
She said that, Masha, you said that the ones that they didn't respond, they were treated with methotrexate?
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, the
Yeah.
response in patients who were on biologics only is usually better.
Wow, that's interesting.
than the response in patients who are on methotrexate.
But I think this is in line with some older Dutch study in which you showed that actually biologics, it's not,
Yes.
yeah.
But,
Okay, that's actually great. And for the non-responders, we should test the T cells. I
well,
mean,
actually, we
yeah.
are, that one patient who was on down on the bottom is one of our patients. We are now assessing her for a possible undiagnosed immunodeficiency. We checked her response to other vaccines as well, and she doesn't seem to respond to anything.
Wow, that's,
But
I
she has
mean,
no infections. She does have recovery. So she is under investigation for that.
I mean, when you start with a study like this, you never know where it will go. I mean, this is one point for which is really very interesting, especially for the multicentric. Yeah, yeah.
Because we actually don't know what the dynamics of the future of the
Do you know how complicated it is to get permission for
No.
serial blood?
No, but we have the permission in our ethical approval. Masha, how many healthy children did we include? We have few.
We have, we have few healthy children, and also we have generally patients who are in remission without therapy. So this will be another important control group. And also from Slovakia, they have some.
Yes. Because we got the ethical approval, which was the hardest part for this study. I had to fight with ethical approval inside Slovenia, but once I got it inside Slovenia, it was a little bit easier perhaps for the other countries because we are a part of EU, and this was the hardest part. But no Western European country was able to join us because of this. It's still, yes, of course. This is discussion now, please speak. Yes.
Then you see that patients might shift from one group to the other. If you are successful in tapering and stopping, how are you going to? It's intention to treat, I assume.
No, the other idea that I'm having from the study.
You know what I'm.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Like one child who was, I don't know, treated only with methotrexate and didn't respond, and now he's treated with biologics.
There you go.
Yeah, but I mean, the one who didn't respond, if you put him on biologic, he'll still be, he was vaccinated according to the program.
Sure.
So,
but here,
yeah.
This has influence on the data that you.
Exactly. And there is another idea that I got from the vaccination study. I mean, in the national program, you have 2 doses. But I don't know where is the problem if the one is not responding to the third dose. We did this in Varicella study.
Yeah, we do it.
I mean, we can, but for the third dose, I think we would need another ethical approval. But just to see, I mean, if we can boost the response. But if someone is totally non-responding, I don't believe on the third booster, this person will respond. But if the therapy is different, perhaps that the first, the child was treated with methotrexate and there was some response, but not good. And then the child is treated with biologic and the response is low. We can try with the booster and then follow on a long term. This is one idea, just an idea.
One thing that might be helpful, having included 19 patients, we obviously had a few times also in a situation where we actually planned to start immunosuppressive treatment, and then obviously we don't try to talk these patients into vaccination with MMR because we consider we don't have people to actually include in the study just because of that and prolonging the treatment. So we started treatment and vaccinated them after a few months afterwards. So there will be another group of patients who had immunosuppressive treatment in the past, but not at the time of vaccination. So that might be actually quite helpful comparing these patients to those who were vaccinated under immunosuppressive therapy to see how
That's a nice illustration of how variable the patient group is and the outcome.
I really like that you have patients with the first MMR vaccination.
This is
that's
for
really,
the
so keep on collecting because
that's great.
That's what we were lacking. Actually, if you read the recommendations now, we cannot do any recommendation on the first MMR for the young patients. So this is really information completely lacking. So even if we have only 10 patients, it's really good to write exactly down a safety. I mean,
it was totally safe, right? No one got infection.
No, but we only have 2 or 3, but just
but this 3 was
re-emphasized because this is more validation. But that part is really new.
Okay, yes, I guess we should do more about it.
Yeah, you really should.
I can support it because we are just about to include another patient, and we have gotten support from that via CPMS consultation because it's a mevalonate kinase deficiency patient on canakinumab treatment, and we discussed this, and basically experts said that this should be okay. So I think we should not be afraid of this.
It's always like this. I mean, if you have a big risk of infection, the risk of vaccination is always considerably smaller. So just go for it.
Is it in your protocol that you can include this patient because it says MMR?
It is in the protocol. First dose might be, I don't know how we put it in. I would need to go back into the papers, but it's mentioned there. It's mentioned. Yeah. I'm sure.
Yeah, it's in protocol that in
and it is allowed.
Yeah.
I don't know how we put it. I don't know how we put it, but it's there. It's not lacking. It's there. Do you know how we put it in?
It's okay, Ramasha can tell it, but it's like that if 50 patients vaccinated with second dose of MMR show that this vaccination is safe, then also we can include vaccinate the patient with first dose MMR.
This has been evaluated by the IRB.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
No, it's
It has
important
been.
because
I
we
have
can
it.
all believe that it's safe, but
Actually, I had to send it to the Slovenian IRB twice, you know, there and back and there and back, but at the end they said it's okay. So, and yes, please.
Congratulations for this work, very nice. My name is Rubinis Merkel, I'm a pediatric hematologist for Athens, Hospital of Children in Athens, Greece. And we had taken part in the first dose of MMR to the study. I would like to ask you, what was here the definition of the adverse events?
We have it in written. It's like you have these minor adverse events as usual, pain or some local reaction. And severe adverse event is always the life-threatening event or the child that needs to go to the hospital.
Even,
this is mild. This is mild adverse event. Can you go back? I think it was.
Vaccine-induced infection. It doesn't have to be an admission.
Yeah.
The vaccine-induced infection, although it's not an SIE, is very relevant.
Yeah.
So that can be an.
But this would be. I mean, okay.
You
But it's
didn't
there.
see it, in the first.
What?
In the first MMR, what she asked, you didn't see a vaccine-related infection.
No. So far, no. So far, how many you had? But also in Greece, you have how many you have with
For
the first dose?
Yeah, quite a few.
But are they here? Did you put them?
Not yet. Not
yet. But you
Yes,
have them.
yes.
So we will reach.
First dose, are you saying?
Yeah, first dose. Yes.
First dose.
And sometimes it's accidental. Actually, the pediatrician gives the dose without having discussion.
Well, thank God for something like this because we think it's safe and we will have the data. So it's.
We don't know that.
Yeah,
But
I don't think anybody ever experienced. I mean, we've had this discussion for about 15 years now. None of the people I've met that have been actually vaccinating their patients, pediatric hematology patients, have actually seen breakthrough disease. None.
That's correct.
None. I haven't heard anybody who said yes.
Infections.
Even for
With the live attenuated.
Varicella,
on
yes.
varicella, I think there were a few from Brazil, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah, in
that had
total, we
SLE.
had 3 or 4. They're in the recommendation. So we have 4 patients with varicella
Yes,
after vaccination,
the
but they
first
were
dose.
all treated after treatment. They didn't develop a second line of disseminated disease. You can have breakthroughs from the primary vaccinella vaccination in naive patients.
But wasn't your data as well? Sorry, wasn't your data or the one from Brazil? Because I've read through this.
No, also in our cohort. On a Kindra one.
Well, and it's another story, you know, and completely different.
Actually, we vaccinated 8 children so far, treated with biologic, all of them, treated with, but mainly anti-TNF. One was, I think, anti-IL-6. Masha will correct me if I'm not right. No breakthrough infections, but it's 18. But we didn't stop the treatment. The treatment continued, and there were no breakthrough infections. Luckily, we skipped one. Parents didn't want to vaccinate. I'll tell you this story. It's interesting. They didn't want to vaccinate, but then at some point they heard about the study that we are vaccinating children against varicella, so they came back. The child was treated with etanercept, and they wanted us to vaccinate. And I said to my colleague, I said, oh, no, not today. I mean, let them come, I don't know, in a few days or in a week, because these parents were really very complicated. They would need to sign the forms. You know what happened? Like, yes, but if I would vaccinate that child, if I would, this would stop our study. But you know, that parents were somehow tricky because they probably knew that the child was in contact with varicella and they probably wanted to stop the infection. But if that child would be vaccinated, it would be varicella, but not because of the vaccine. I mean, this is always the tricky part. So actually, great, some more ideas about the study. We will continue this. We will not stop it yet. We have almost 50 patients and some new patients will be included. But I think we should go on at least for a year.
Well, it looks like it's doable, so we have 50, so
okay, I guess for the young team, next year, abstract for the IM. Yes.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh, nice to have you here.
Yeah. Just a question. Is that type of disease activity, and those politics would be marked as adverse in the study?
I didn't quite get you.
The type of the disease.
The type of disease.
And the dose of the treatment or the type of treatment adverse in the study. I mean,
the dose of the treatment is standard as it's prescribed, you know, anti-TNFs and methotrexate is the standard dose that we all use, and it's in the protocol.
Patient will be like in tapering plan or in the regular medication, maybe it's.
But actually specified what kind of therapy they can have, and as Thomas said, in the patients that they were taking therapy, they actually skipped the vaccination because they stopped it. But you know, we have now 48 data from 10 centers for the specific question. I would need to go back, but you're really welcome to join with this effort. Everybody can only participate in the safety part. You don't need any money. That's why, you know, for the low resource countries, this study on vaccination first is clinically very important. It's really the safety. And then for the immunogenicity, we need to know if our children need boosters more often than healthy children. This is the immunogenicity part. And if they need more booster than healthy children.
Actually, we have to go on. Half past 2, we have to leave.
Yeah, but this is okay. But actually, everybody can join on the safety part. Zero money, zero money. This is, I mean, I'm not coming from a high resource country. Perhaps I find my way here also because of this. Okay, now we will have Mark to tell us the things about the immunogenicity. So please take the floor and deal with the computer so I can rest a little bit. If you have more ideas or questions, just write me. I mean, email is there. And regarding this study, you can write directly to me. And we will show you the protocol and everything.
Do you see it online?
Ask Mero.
Mero, do you see it?
Yes, we can see it now. Actually, for Barbara's speech or talk, we only saw the first slide. So, but I feel like it's going to be fine right now because you switched it and we see it. We can see it.
So maybe you should continue your presentation to be sure that they see it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
That's the first slide that they can see.
Please let me know if it doesn't continue, okay?
Okay. Okay.
So,
thank you.
Tassa asked me to tell something about the work we did last year, actually. I mean, or finished last year, I should say. I have no disclosure, so yeah, this is. I only see it there, and it's strange. It's not on the. So, can someone put the?
I will put.
Yeah. So, actually, all studies where we showed last year the preliminary data from are now published or in publication. And if you put one more time, I want to thank this man, especially there, Mohammed. He's there. He was with us in Utrecht for a year. It was a great time, socially, but also effective, because he did a lot of work, especially on the MMR and COVID-19 vaccines. And we were already working at the meningococcal ACWY. I showed you last year, but I have some new information, which we also published in another group. You can see it there. So this is in another patient group of primary and secondary immune deficiencies, where we also did studies of this vaccine. Yeah.
Mero, can you see this slide?
No, we can only see the first slide.
You cannot see now the next slide.
Exactly.
This is strange.
Yeah, you probably have to.
No, it's already.
It helps to stop sharing.
Okay.
Perhaps if you stop and then share.
We could see Steffi's slides, so it should work somehow. I don't know how.
Did you count how many people were online?
No, not yet.
Oh, now we see.
Okay.
Now we see. Now we can see.
But now I hope it still works. It's probably in a different presentation mode. Let's try.
No. No, this is not working.
Otherwise, I will ask the online audience just to listen to Mark.
Okay, we do see the current with the slide with Muhammad. We have Muhammad picture now.
Okay, well, because of the sake of the time, because we are late, please Mark continue.
But then the problem is that this is the problem.
If you leave the presentation form, they will see it.
You mean?
Just put escape. Escape.
Okay. I don't know what's where I'm in now. I think they're open 2 presentations now. Go back to the PowerPoint. Mm-hmm. Did you do like
you can close off this presentation?
Screen share? You have to share your screen, not your presentation. The Zoom. Let's try it. So share here. Share screen. Screen. Select screen. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Share. Now this one. I have to close this one. No, I think it's okay. Okay. Now it would work. Should work.
Oh yes, absolutely, it works. Thanks. Thank you.
So we start on the meningococcal HCWY. So this is this study. One more, yeah. This study was done because in the Netherlands, after Great Britain, we saw a big increase of the MenW infections. And at that moment, we started to vaccinate our whole population between 15 and 18. Yes. And like I showed you last year, we saw in our patients with GIA and IBD, a combined cohort of 226 patients, that the serological values were lower 12 months after vaccination for patients compared to controls. Can you? Yes, you see it here. But this was not the case for men C, and this is a booster vaccination in the Netherlands because these children already got the vaccination when they were young, but that was only men C. So there seemed to be a problem with the primary vaccination in patients. So the thing I didn't show you last time, that we also checked this for other patient groups, mainly primary immune deficiencies or systemic autoimmune disease with stronger immune suppression. And here we saw the same pattern. So again, for MenW, can you click? You see that the healthy controls in gray show better titers 12 months after vaccination. But when you look at Men C, and this is the booster again, you don't see this difference. And this was for the whole group. Then there was another problem with anti-TNF. So for anti-TNF users, these titers were even lower, especially for Men W and Men Y. You can click in the and again. And again, not for Men C. And importantly, and this is the most important assay for the, we also checked whether the antibodies of these patients actually were able to kill the bacteria in vitro with the complement. And then if you click, you see that for Men W, only 76% of the patients after vaccination was actually protected. So 1/4 of the patients after vaccination didn't show any seroprotection against the bacteria. So this was the biggest problem actually. This was in the anti-TNF group. There were no severe adverse events, only mild, and also no change in disease activity. So this vaccine is safe. We see in all immune deficient groups, primary and secondary due to immune suppression, that the titers of MenW are lower after 1 year. And specifically for anti-TNF, if you click, we have this problem of protected antibodies. We didn't check this for the primary immune deficiency group. That will be a nice next study to look in, but at least for now we know that anti-TNF users are at risk. So we're now considering the booster on patients in the Netherlands 1 year after vaccination to be sure that they have a good response, because we know from Men C that this works.
Probably
Are there questions? Because I go to the next study. So, or you can answer. You can ask afterwards. That's also possible. For the MMR, then this is work Mohammed has worked on most of it. We did 2 studies. One was on safety. We looked in a big cohort, but in a new era of patients using biological DMARDs, 28%, especially specific at disease activity. And like Nico showed before in this study, and 10 or 15 years ago, is that we didn't see any change in disease activity, significant changes after vaccination, also not in the group with biological DMARDs. So these, there was no change in disease activity. And we also saw only 6% self-reported adverse events. And like you told us, Natasha, also in this study, we didn't see any breakthrough infections of the vaccine or serious adverse events. In another cohort, which has been followed longer, 182 patients with GIA, we looked at the long-term immunogenicity. And indeed, as with Thomas, you need to follow them long because you will see that the titers start to decline. But this is probably you're right in healthy controls. This will happen as well. The second question is, how relevant is that? Because you can also have a T-cell memory response, and maybe you will still have a response if you see the virus again. But what was important is that the protective levels at 5 years were significantly reduced. Actually, if you look at the percentages for all groups, measles, mumps, and rubella, but only significant for measles. But the measles protective levels for biological users, maybe TNF, were only 60%. So it would be very nice to have your long-term data, because your cohort, we didn't check here for the concomitant use to vaccinate, but the biologicals in the multi-level analysis came out as a predictor of a poorer response. And yes, I agree with you, Thomas, that it would be nice to do cellular assays in this subgroup of patients to see whether they still have a memory response, but at least their levels are not protective anymore. And for COVID, we did. We also had the opportunity to study COVID vaccination in our cohort. So we included 137 patients with all kinds of pediatric rheumatic disease. Almost half of them were on biologicals. And again, this vaccine was safe, as we showed before. No changes in disease activity, no severe adverse events, only mild adverse events. But what was interesting, as Sefi just said, that this was finally a vaccine where we could look at efficacy, something we couldn't do for the other vaccines. And here you see in the green dots, that's patients vaccinated with a biological DMARD. The blue one is without a biological DMARD, and the red graph are patients who are not vaccinated. And this is the chance of not having an infection. So that's how you have to read it. And then you see that the infection rate for fully vaccinated patients versus non-vaccination patient is 0.53. So you really have a higher risk of infection if you're not vaccinated, and that's not dependent on your immune suppression. In our cohort, almost all patients had good seroprotective levels, but we saw small differences between biological users and non-biological users. These were significant, but they are significant, but maybe not relevant, because all these patients still have protective antibody levels. And more importantly, we also did do T-cell responses in these patients, and these data were quite reassuring. It was in a subset of 23 patients. Biologicals in red and patients not on biologicals in blue. And then you still see that all but 2 patients had adequate T-cell responses in vitro to COVID. The 2 patients who had not were on tocilizumab and anti-TNF treatment. But for the whole group, this is quite good, actually, and reassuring that the vaccination works in these patients. So the last thing I want to show you is just this pooled odds ratio. So Yuri and Mohammed and us did systemic review on the effect of COVID-19 vaccination on MIS-C. And then you see from the pooled analysis that vaccination really protects against MIS-C, because the pooled odds ratio is 0.034 to develop MIS-C after vaccination compared to patients who are not vaccinated. So this is really important, and actually we also don't see MIS-C anymore in our in our country. So this is probably true what you find, Mohammed.
We just had one very severe case that ended up with intensive care.
In a vaccinated patient?
No, not vaccinated. He was obese, 16 years of age, and actually in acute respiratory distress, and it was MIS-C, treated with steroids and anakinra, and got out of the intensive care unit in a week. This was the first case in a year that we had.
Yeah.
Are other people seeing MIS-C now? Are you saying
There's some trend now.
Yeah.
Maybe because of the new variants.
That's possible.
Yes. But actually he was not having myocarditis. It was the other clinical presentation, because the MIS-C presentation during the time was changing. Okay, sorry.
Yes.
Can I ask a few basic questions?
Yes.
Like, when you say not on biologic, not the not group, were they on any medication at all?
Yeah, they could be on DMARDs.
Ah.
So in all these, I didn't show all the, but what we did multi-regression analysis to look at what was the main factor.
You have a comparison, I mean, between methotrexate, which is the gold standard.
Yes, you could be on methotrexate.
Yes, no, what I'm
So
saying
we
is-
looked for, we corrected for non-medication, DMARDs, mostly methotrexate, or biologicals alone, or biological and DMARDs.
Yeah.
We didn't look within the group of DMARDs, but most of them were methotrexate.
And the other thing, with a very nice follow-up of 5 years with the MMR, that would be, again, with a non-biologic hand, let's say, arm, that would be interesting. Were they still on medicine all these 5 years?
Yeah, so this is the same what Nico just said. This is the same problem that we have. So it's not the comment on your study is the same as we had. Of course, this is also a group of patients who was not steady on that biological. So you're right, there have been switches. This is also affecting the So yeah, this is the difficulty. This is
It's
not.
just real life.
It's the best you can do, but it's not. It's not one.
And one last thing, in my humble opinion, I think patients who were on anti-TNF actually had a very mild COVID disease course.
Yes.
And it's the same with and with the vaccinations as well. They didn't have any side effects, and actually their protective levels were better than the methotrexate in our cohort.
Yeah, it was an hour.
So the last thing is interesting because that's, well, we looked at long term, so maybe we have to wait 5 years to see. And in the meningococcal study, this was really because that's why we went to the next step to see what functionally happens in these anti-TNF patients. And there you really see that anti-TNF, and I can imagine why, because it has a conjugate. So the communication between T and B cells is probably diminished in these patients, and it was a real problem. But I cannot say that for MMR for sure, but on the long term, there seems to be a faster decline.
And one last thing, when you were thinking about giving a booster or
Yes.
a quadrivalent vaccine,
Yes.
I suspect only to the group that has no bacteriocytic activity. Is it?
Yeah, that's the problem. This is a good question. So the question is, who should you booster of the meningococcal ACWY? She says, you rather would do only the group who didn't have a bacterial serum assay, which was negative. But yes, the problem is you can't do it. I mean, in our country, it's a really difficult assay, and it's a lot of work to do this assay. And so this was in a research setting. You cannot do for every patient in TNF a bacterial serum assay. So the easy thing is to booster anyone.
But you get 70% extra.
Yeah, and then you booster perhaps 70 for nothing. But we see that the booster patients in general do better anyway if you look to Benson. And I don't know what happens after 5 years. We now looked after 1 year. So you're right. You booster 75% for nothing. Maybe I don't think it's for nothing. I think it's still better. But on the other hand, if you got a meningococcal vaccination, but you're completely not protected against the against the W serotype, which is actually the problem in your country, I think that's a bigger problem than that you boosted the other 75%. For nothing, which is of course.
But this is the same with NMR. I mean, more than 90%, one dose is enough. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You booster all. Yeah, and now in the near future, everyone is boosted because now they get it when they they're 1.5 years, and they get a new one when they're 15. The problem is this group, which is in between.
Yeah.
Do you think the healthcare authorities will take over this?
We're now making a national guideline, and with that guideline, and go to the national authorities to convince them. Yeah. But that's why I said, and that's my last slide, that's validation. Because of course, we did really our best to be as sure as possible. So here are the people, Nico, Mohammed. Of course, it's best if we can validate these results in a country which is also starting with, which countries do have the meningococcal
we don't have problem.
Do you have the quadruple vaccine?
Yes, we
have it, but we don't have problem with this infection.
No, we don't.
It's
okay. We didn't have breakthrough
very
infections.
rarely. They are mainly vaccinated with against the meningococcal B type.
B. Bernard. Okay.
We don't have studies on that. So that's
we don't have studies on that.
We don't have any studies, but they are vaccinated against the infection with B type.
It is in a way logical given the rise in incidence.
Yeah.
But we don't do it in the Netherlands, right?
B we don't do, and W now after this vaccination campaign.
But in immunocompromised, you should do it with the complement deficiency and with the asplenic patients.
Yeah, that's for B, yes, for that indication, yes, but not for the general population and not for our rheumatic patients. But this would be a very nice study to do, a validation study in another country, also in a country where there are no W infections, because that's not what we were searching for, whether you're protected after vaccination. And this, in general, I agree with Natasha, we really should search to validate our studies in non-cohorts or other countries. If I look to the guidelines we wrote, the recommendations for EULAR, PReS, then we really still have not enough data on the varicella vaccine, the naive varicella vaccine, I have to say. The booster, we have quite some data, but so this is also something to keep collecting, because like I said, there are a few breakthrough infections of the vaccine induced, So it's very important to keep your cohorts if you have patients, varicella naive patients, which you're vaccinating with live attenuated vaccine. CellCept, I talked with Mohammed as well. That's also a drug where we have not as much data as the rest of the DMARDs.
It was shown in COVID that CellCept was actually the one that blocked the immunogenicity.
But especially also for live attenuated vaccines, we don't have it. For the live attenuated vaccine, CellCept is also important, because now we don't know. So in the recommendation, we don't say anything about CellCept. So this is something we should work on. I would really like to measure the preventable infection rate. So like meningococcal or what we talked about earlier, if there are countries where we see infections which are actually preventable, or measles, that would be really nice, because then you have a rationale why we actually do these studies, because we say it all the time, we have to vaccinate, but if we can get to the numbers which are the breakthrough infections.
For this is quite possible, because we have at least 3 outbreaks in Slovenia every year, because a very little number of children are vaccinated.
Yeah, the last one is something general, but in the Netherlands and I think more countries, we see a decline in the vaccination coverage in general, and also in these patients. So this is something we should keep working on.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I think that I feel that the ethos actually has changed after the COVID pandemic, and they tend to vaccinate their kids more. I don't know. This is
more or less.
More.
In our country, less.
Not against COVID. Against COVID, they have a few. Asian children. Against COVID, they were neither here or there. But for the rest of them,
Can you open the next one? Actually, in Slovenia, it was like this, that when the COVID started, which one? Disease relapse rate after COVID. Actually, at first, they stopped vaccinating also for the vaccines that are in the national program with COVID. We had a drop of vaccination rate, but now we are slowly coming to the rate that was before COVID, but not more, not more. So we are in between Netherlands and Greece. This is just to show you the other perspective. Actually, we concentrate in this on the disease relapse because we really wanted to know if there is any difference between disease relapse after infection or after vaccination. So this was the work done by a student, a medical student in the last year, and she got the prize for it. She's not here with us, unfortunately, so I'll just shortly go through this data. Actually, we collected the data from 115 patients with autoimmune rheumatic diseases, and we started to include them from March 20 when the epidemic starts. So first patients, of course, were included because they were infected with COVID. And you see the numbers, 92 were after infections, 47 after vaccination. However, 24 were in both groups. Either they were having the infection before they were vaccinated or after. We still have few minutes. We still have 2 minutes. Okay. And you see how many of them were on biologic. And here you can see the disease presentation of all the infections. You see that majority had very mild disease or asymptomatic, and that disease relapse rate was not connected with the severity of the disease. This is the main thing. And 10% had a relapse rate of the disease after infection and 6% after vaccination. This is not statistically significant, unfortunately. However, if you look to this part, I just want to tell you now that 2 patients that had a disease relapse after vaccination also had a disease relapse after the infection. So 2 are in both groups, which is very interesting, but the sample is small and these are the results. We were not able to prove the statistical significance. Yes, I have to. Yeah. So this is the end of it. So actually, we were not able to show the significance. We have to finish. I'm sorry, I would still want to discuss with you, but for the next studies, I have an idea. I mean, the vaccination rate, we still miss the data. And this is also, you don't need any money. You can do it in your country. Check the vaccination rate in patients with autoinflammatory diseases, because I think it's suboptimal. They are not vaccinated according to the program. One reason is also because they're having biologic therapy. So thank you very much to everybody that you joined. And the next time Meryl and Mark will be on the podium. Thank you. We need to move out. Did you collect the emails? The emails, because I gave you the. Oh, thank you.
They are here.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. We need to move out, otherwise they will.
Okay.
We need to move out. I'll just.
Have you sent an email of some sort?
Yes.
And,
Opslan, Mark, I need your help. Opslan needs to close everything. I just want to delete everything from the computer. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye, Natasha.
Bye.
Enjoy your
Afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
We have to print screen.
I'll ask Masha how many of them were online. I forgot to ask. I think there were at least 10. 10 at least 10 of them were online, right? Just stop Zoom. Stop Zoom.